let me explain to you why doing questions is very important for the USMLE. Obviously, the obvious reasons are there. Okay, so definitely, simulate the exam, blah blah blah. You're doing questions and etc. etc. But why is it important? In step one, I wasn't really a fan of doing questions. I know it's important. I knew it's important. I have experience in standardized exam, and I know if you do a lot of questions, your score will improve better. That's full stop. That's the best way. However, the way I prepared was I finished Boards and Beyond, and I did maybe half of AMBUS before the exam, and that's it. I just got into the exam. So let me explain to you this. Doing questions is the way to learn for people who don't know how to learn. For me, I developed, so I learned, like, I used to study, like, for my entire life. And so my study skill level is very high. So even if I'm watching Boards and Beyond, I usually finish a 20-minute video in like 2 hours. Because I know how to study a video. Some people don't. Some people just watch the video and think if they pay enough attention, that's it. That's what they need to do. I know that this is not the case. So I would study the video and I would know how to incorporate that video into my brain. Some other people don't. And so questions is a way to make sure you know what you know without any bullshit. If you don't know how to study, questions basically guide you into the direction of studying. So it's a learning tool. So it's very good for people who don't know how to study, like they don't have a system in place, or a system, like not in place or like a system. No, I mean like place in their mind, the way they think, the way they operate. And so questions are done very poor. So let me explain to you this. People think that UWorld is the exam, but that's not true. Okay, UWorld has a lot of questions that intend, and it's designed to, in a way, to make you learn the concepts, not simulate the exam. So the exam is no way like UWorld, and people who do the MBME know this. If you do the MBME, you will see a lot of difference between UWorld and the MBME, because UWorld care about tricking you, care about making some concepts very obvious to you so that you can grasp them. But the exam is not like that. The exam doesn't care about that. The exam cares about assessing you overall. Okay. That doesn't mean that UWorld doesn't have questions that simulate the exam. Absolutely not. They do. But I'm talking about the majority of the questions. The majority of the questions are intended to teach you concepts. So these concepts, if you can learn them in another way, you don't need UWorld. And I'm a proof for this, right? So my last MBME, I got 252 on my last MBME before I passed step one. So like I passed by 50 points plus. And I didn't even finish all the questions, okay? Some people finish 5 QBanks in order to get 250, right? So it's about your learning ability as well, okay? So it's not like, questions, it's like a specific pathway of passing. Hell no. My point here, if you are struggling in doing a lot of questions, it's by far the best way to learn overall. Yeah, sorry, to it's the best way to simulate the exam and improve your reading skills. Okay? So when you're doing UWorld, you're doing any question bank, you are working on your reading and visualizing and interpretation skills in general. Okay? So if you learned in any other way, let's say you learned aortic regurgitation very well, the mechanism, the physiology, the pathophysiology, with the animation, and you know how it works in an animation way, you're not going to get an aortic regurgitation question right on the exam. For a simple reason, because you're not able to translate that knowledge into written words or text. Okay, so this is simply it. when you're doing a lot of questions, you're not improving your knowledge, you're improving your translation, your reading skills, abilities. And so it's very important to work on this early on, because reading takes a lot of time to develop. You can't just cram before the exam and expect to improve your reading ability. If you suck at reading, my opinion is don't learn using written text, because you're not gonna garner a lot. You're not gonna garner a lot of knowledge. But if you learn in a visual way, I would suggest that you learn the concepts, the main concepts, in a visual manner, and test yourself using the MBMEs and any questions whatsoever. Okay, so let's say you hate, I don't know, a certain system, a certain subject. Let's say you hate it. In this case, the majority of your learning, do it however you want. Like, learn however you want, and the MBMEs are the final like step in you like, and the MBMEs are the final step in defining whether you learned it or not. Okay, and I'm here. So for me, I didn't do UWorld, but it's not that you don't have to do it because I didn't do it. So my reading ability is very, very high in comparison to you. If you are an IMG who was, he didn't do a lot of, American exams before, your reading probably sucks. Your reading probably is not good. And I'm not saying that to brag or hell no. Like, I don't really care. I'm just giving you advice on improving your reading ability. So, like I said, the USMLE is not a test of knowledge very much, as it is a test of translation and text. Because think about it. Like, I shadowed cardiothoracic surgeons for like 3 months, and I saw how they deal with the notes, right? So they basically know all the information about the patient from the notes of the nurses and the healthcare providers. And if a patient was transferred to, like, let's say I work at a certain hospital and another doctor works at like another hospital, and he transferred the patient to me, the communication between us is using text, like using the chart of the patient, and it's all text. So if you suck at reading and let's say you're a great doctor, but you don't know how to read medical text, right? Are you going to help the patient? No, right? Until they make somehow the charts not written, well, you do have to improve your reading ability, okay? So, the MCAT, all these exams are test your reading ability. Basically, SATs, all these exams, they test your reading ability. They care about so much about your reading ability. Because guys, like, imagine you can basically download any person's, like, if you read a book, you can download the knowledge anybody has if you're good at reading. Literally. Like, I think Naguib Mahfouz or some Egyptian author said that instead of adding years to your life, you can add life to your years. So reading about other people's lives, people you admire, people you want to be like, it's so crazy. Like, you can live their lives if you're good at reading. So I don't think reading is going anywhere in this lifetime, at least in my lifetime, in your lifetime. Even ChatGPT AI is like processing reading right now. So like all the text that AI gives out is reading, and voice, right? So voice also, what do you think? Like, they communicate using language. So the way humans communicate is using language. So it's very important to develop your communication and reading abilities using the language that you want to learn medicine with, which is English, obviously, right? If you want to come to America, UK, whatever. I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you don't really want to stay in your country. And again, sorry about that shit. I literally just woke up and I had an idea. I wanted to share it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And so basically, you will notice that the knowledge itself is not a lot. Really, seriously, like knowledge of the USMLE is not a lot. For someone who is in medical school and he did well, and he studied every day, he went to lectures, basically is a nerd. Okay, so it's not a lot of knowledge for a nerd. Obviously, for someone who didn't study medicine, yeah, it's a lot. It's like drinking from a hose or whatever they call it. Okay. Yeah, and so I just wanted to share this. I just got this idea. I thought you might get some, you know, get some like context. Okay.